I love Star Wars. Who doesn't love Star Wars? It's one of the biggest, most profitable media franchises in history. The world, the characters, epic scale, it's all just wonderful. Or at least it was. Yeah, I remember my particular interest for Star Wars started to lower after Disney's Force Awakens, then got even lower after The Last Jedi, and then dropped all the way down to hell after Rise of Skywalker. Then after that, most movies and TV shows didn't really do it for me, and at the time, I really thought that the spark of Star Wars was truly gone. But of all things, it was actually a game company that began to return my faith in the series, and it was EA and the goated game that was Jedi Fallen Order. A flawed game with a wonderful foundation, wonderful lightsaber combat, a gripping story that actually connects greatly with the overarching lore, and at the end of the day, it just felt like Star Wars, like truly. I felt the same way playing that game as I did watching the old movies on the DVD, and that is something I haven't experienced in a long time. So when Jedi Survivor was announced, part of me was terrified. Mostly I was just scared that they wouldn't be able to hit that same feeling again and live up to the hype, because at the end of the day, this is still EA. But now here we are in the future, halfway through 2023, I've beaten the story to Jedi Survivor, did some side stuff, and I've really got to hand it to EA. They truly shocked me in both the best and worst way possible. EA has surprised me with a game that is foundationally an excellent sequel in every regard that runs truly horribly. So this is going to be a little different than I normally do with my reviews. I actually want to save the story for last, because I actually have a lot of stuff to say about it. So instead, let's start with everything else before I get to the game's best aspect, the story. Let's start with the combat, which is greatly improved by a large margin. The first game's lightsaber combat was a highlight in Fallen Order, but in Jedi Survivor, they give you even more options to how you want to tackle combat. You can go from a single saber, which is a decent all-around type, or go double-bladed, which was excellent for crowd control, or my personal favorite, the new pistol saber combo, giving you an excellent range attack while keeping a lot of your skills from the single saber. But I didn't even mention the 3 other stances that are drastically different and offer Cal different moves and styles for each one. And matched with the increased number of skills on display, combat was always a treat. And Jedi Survivor, above all else, does the best job of making you feel like an all-powerful, super badass Jedi. And you really get to see those skills shine thanks to the increased number of enemy types and especially the bosses, both of which are greatly improved from Jedi Fallen Order. Then outside of old combat, the world is also greatly expanded, with all the planets now holding more collectibles, more upgrades, optional boss fights, side quests, and even challenge rooms, with Kobo being an extraordinary hub planet with a staggering amount of people to see and things to do. Lastly, I want to quickly talk about the obvious. Let's take a minute to talk about the presentation. The music, of course, is wonderful. It's Star Wars. It's always gonna have excellent music. And then I want to take a quick minute to talk about the visuals. Not the performance, we will get to that later, trust me. But the visuals themselves are really great. Much more detailed, great art direction, and the cutscenes looked significantly improved than the first game, giving all the performances and characters way more depth. which is very important for a story like this. Honestly, I really don't have to talk much about our leads. They're all great. They're all likable. They've all been expanded. Some more than others. I honestly wish they gave my man Grease a little more time to shine, but apart from him, everyone felt important. Seer truly turned into a fan favorite, and Marin changed the most since the first game. And it's nice to see her romance with Cal be explored more than the first game. But what I really appreciate about Star Wars Jedi Survivor is that even though all the characters are great and likable truly, every single time they were on screen, you were just drawn to it. Seriously, all the characters every time on screen, wonderful. But even though they were all great, I love that this game kept the story clearly centered on Cal and his struggle. And that can even be connected to the villains of Jedi Survivor, which act as excellent foils to Cal. Honestly, the reason why I don't want to talk about our leads, which are already fantastic, and we all know it, is because I want to spend some time talking about the villains. Because I adore the villains in, well, that's not true. I adore one villain in particular in this game, and I appreciate what the other villain stands for in the game. Now, I usually don't do this. I really don't, because I am in the firm belief of people finding out these big secrets and spoilers for themselves. Frankly, this game has been out for months now, so if you haven't played the game, then I'm sorry, that's on you, pal. But also, the actual reason is, in order to really talk about my love for the story, I need to talk about everything about the villains. So I am actually going to go into hard spoilers for Jedi Survivor. Really, I'm going to be spoiling almost everything. So if you're one of the two people who haven't played it yet, this is your last chance before I go into heavy spoiler territory. Ready? Are you sure? Here we go. All right, good. There are two real villains in Jedi Survivor, right? Now, at first, we are led to believe that it's Dagan Gera being the main villain. But through a clever twist, it turns out that your companion Bode, that really big Jack guy, right? It turns out he was secretly the main antagonist of this game the whole time. But before we get into the awesomeness that is Bode, I first want to talk about Dagan Gera. The game pulls a pretty good bait and switch, and making us think that Dagan would be the main threat for the game. And while he isn't nearly as interesting as Bode, his purpose for the story is very important, which I'll discuss a little later. But the character himself, he's honestly fine, really. Like, his motivation was fine, his performance was fine, and the best thing I can give him is he posed a pretty high challenge for the boss fights, which I do appreciate. But it is Bode who is the real star of, well, Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Bode is a man that by all accounts genuinely cares for Cal. And he shows it several times from the advice that he's constantly giving him throughout the game. Even by the end of the game, when we do see his big betrayal, he is giving him that brotherly advice to not go after him, but to save his family. That is admirable. He does care. But it's his love for his daughter and the fear of losing anyone close to him that drives him to make some truly reprehensible choices. But it's all done for the people he loves. I look at Bode, and it's hard to hate him. You want to hate him, but at the end of the day, Bode's reasoning for doing what he's doing is just understandable. You know Bode's backstory. You know that he's lost everyone, including the mother of his child. And yes, sure, Bode does some desperate shit to try and keep his daughter safe. But you really need to do some of the post-game to really understand Bode to a large degree. Before the boss fight, we sing Kata singing a beautiful song called Ghost Song, which is a lullaby that Bode taught her, and it's obviously supposed to keep her close to her deceased mother. That already hurts. But then, after you kill Bode, you come back. You go back to that very entrance after the boss fight, and you hear both Bode and Kata singing that song with each other, really showing how much they actually fucking meant to each other. Oh my god, when I heard that, that hit like a fucking truck. That honestly got me teary-eyed. That hurt. It really did.
Star hiding in the night. All your friends are oh so bright. And the sky is clear. I can sense you're near. Looking down on me.
See, what makes Bode and Dagon very interesting is how they are both examples of what Cal could have been if he took the fight too far or not far enough, and became fully focused on protecting his loved ones by any means necessary. Fundamentally, both are admirable, both are fighting for what they believe in, but if not checked, can lead to negative effects on you and the people around you. And I just love how Dagon and Bode do an excellent job of really representing sort of a cautionary tale when compared to Cal. Now, Jedi Survivor is far from perfect. It does have a lot of flaws. In fact, I can name the two biggest flaws right now. One is the platforming. That's the other thing that Jedi Fallen Order had a really rough spot in, and to give Survivor credit, it is better. It is a little easier to connect your jumps. Platforms are just a little brighter so you can understand exactly where you've got to go. But at the end of the day, it's still not that good. It's still really rough. And while all the challenge rooms and side quests I greatly appreciate, I didn't appreciate the ones that involved platforming. Those were crap, honestly. So the platforming is not that good, better but still not that good. And then there's the other problem. And this is the real big problem of the game, the biggest problem, right? Look, I'm gonna go on a bit of a rant here. There is no way in 2023 can companies get away with releasing a game like how Jedi Survivor released, okay? It's getting unacceptable. We are in the next gen. We are in 2023. Xbox Series X, PlayStation 5. We're getting a next gen Switch soon. This was the generation that was promised 4K with 60 FPS. The fact that Jedi Survivor launched this rough with this many bugs, this many drops in frame rate, and this fucking unsyncing of the lips, it's unacceptable. It was never enough to the point where it was overly distracting of the game, so I was still able to play the game and have a great time. But the fact that it's even there, the fact that I even noticed as many as I did is still an issue. EA, get better at this, man. Please, for the third game, use Unreal Engine 5, take all the time you need, but stop rushing these games out, because getting a buggy launch like this is gonna do more harm to the game than good, I promise you. So big issues, bugs, and platforming, right? Both of which are still not that great. But then you compare that to the rest of the game with its awesome combat, wonderful visuals, great story, like unexpectedly awesome story. It's really hard to walk away from this game disappointed. And then it's even harder to stay disappointed when you compare Jedi Survivor to the bunches of other Star Wars crap that we have gotten in the last couple years. I think back at every movie, every TV show since Force Awakens, and there has not been a single Star Wars property that has impressed me as much as Jedi Survivor. And that's my review on Jedi Survivor, everybody. What a fucking great game that got so completely shafted by everything else this year. Jedi Survivor didn't even get a solid month to be appreciated before fucking Tears of the Kingdom came out and took all the fire. But hopefully this review here and the people that are talking about the game can maybe tell people to check this game out, because really, if you love Star Wars, you're missing out. And then as for my next review, I have a pretty good idea what that's gonna be. But I'll keep that a little closer to my chest. So for right now, thank you guys for watching. Always appreciated. Be sure to check out my Instagram. It's @thegamercritic. So yeah, stay good, and I will talk to you guys soon.